Goodness. Say aloha. You know, God is an awesome God. An awesome God. Let me thank the 37th International Women's Conference for asking me to participate this weekend. It's my honor and it's my privilege, and it'll be a day that I'll never ever forget for the rest of my life. I want to thank Tony, who I met at my first International Women's Conference when I was there in Vancouver, feeling alone in a room with hundreds of women. And for whatever reason, God sent her to me. And she could see that I was in pain. And she came over to me and she put her arms around me and she gave me one of these lay-ons and she sort of took me under her wings. And as a result of that, I'm here today. You know, women to women. You know, our slogan in Cleveland is, we recover better together. You know, God blessed me to get sober in Cleveland. You know, we have a strong women's support system in Cleveland, and I know that all of you know that. You know, God put me right where I needed to be because I was a mess when I got here. You know, and thank Martina and Mildred, you know, for rounding up all those ladies and getting them here. I think we have probably about 200 women from Cleveland, and that's awesome. That's awesome. You know, my mom, she came with me, you know, when you guys wanted to be in Atlanta, I said, I'm bringing my mom, you know. And she made my dress. Wait, y'all. She's sitting over there somewhere in her poor little wheelchair. So if you thought it was me, it wasn't me, it was her. And thank you for my support group. You know, my girls that I sponsor, I think at least about 15 of my ladies are here. I had the opportunity one year to chair our women's luncheon, and I wrote a poem, and I want to share that poem with you. It's about the ladies in Alcoholics Anonymous, you know, and if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here. You know, if it wasn't for you doing the things that you were supposed to be doing here in Alcoholics Anonymous, I wouldn't have known what to do with myself. You know, you are my examples. You know, you're the wings beneath my wings, and I thank you, each and every one of you, even the new person that has one day I can learn something from. It's called the Women of Alcoholics Anonymous, Women of AA. It is because of you, the women of AA, that I am here. I am here because you showed me the way. I saw the gleam in your eyes and the glow on your faces. I saw how you walked and you talked like ladies. I saw the women in AA bond and establish lasting relationships. I saw women in AA grow, whether married or divorced. I saw women who, when they came to AA, could not read or write, but today hold college degrees. In AA, I watch women learn through the examples of others how to deal with child rearing and become better parents. In the rooms of AA, I saw our children grow up and become better children. I saw women learn how to be better daughters, mothers, sisters, wives, and friends. I saw women in AA lose loved ones and continued on. I saw the women of AA with terminal illness carry the message of Alcoholics Anonymous until dying. They died with dignity and with grace. And when I saw the women in AA, I saw women who were everything that I wanted to be. It is because of the women in AA that I am who I am today. And it is because of you, the women in Alcoholics Anonymous, that I keep coming back so that you may continue to teach me how to live one day at a time. I know you guys prayed the Serenity Prayer, but can we pray it again, please? God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, the wisdom to know the difference. God, I offer myself to Thee, to build with me and to do with me as Thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self that I may better do Thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those that I may help. Of Thy power, Thy love, Thy way of life. May I do Thy will always. Amen. I want to share with you one paragraph out the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I had a real hard time when I came here. Self-will run riot out in total denial, and I came here and I couldn't identify. And I sort of like my dad's description of how he came to Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'm going to share it with you. You know, my dad came here and he said that if the speaker was a tall guy, you know, he would tune himself out because my dad was short and he didn't like tall guys. And he said that if the guy was, you know, a light-skinned guy, you know, he really could sit down because my dad didn't like light-skinned guys because the light-skinned guys, they got all the girls. And then he said that if it was a female, she really could sit down and shut up because they don't know nothing anyhow. And that's pretty much how I came here. I came here comparing my outsides or my insides to your outsides and insides, and it was all messed up. But there's a paragraph that I want to share with you that tells me and reminds me why I'm here in Alcoholics Anonymous. The fact is that most alcoholics, for reasons yet obscure, have lost the power of choice in drink. Our so-called willpower becomes practically non-existent. We are unable at certain times to bring into our consciousness with sufficient force the memory of the suffering and the humiliation of even a week or a month ago. We are without defense against that first drink. And becoming an alcoholic, a plain old-fashioned drunk, and finding the program of Alcoholics Anonymous is absolutely the best thing that has ever happened to me. And I wouldn't trade my life today for absolutely nothing in the world. I'm supposed to share with you in a general way what I was like, what happened to me, and then what I do today to stay clean and sober. And when I go back to what I was like, I need to share with you how Delilah was before she picked up that first drink. I need to share with you how I was before I found out about the magic and alcohol. Because today I know long before I picked up my first drink, I had a problem with me. And I needed some help. And I'm going to touch on a few things to let you know that Delilah had a problem. As a young girl growing up, there was absolutely nothing about me that I liked. Absolutely nothing. I did not like the color of my skin, the color of my eyes, or the texture of my hair. There were times when I did not like my mother, my father, the fact that I had 3 brothers and I was the only girl. There was absolutely nothing about me that I liked. As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be somebody else, somewhere else. I never wanted to be me. As far back as I can remember, I was always uncomfortable in my own skin. In elementary school, I had a girlfriend that wore glasses. And to me, when she put these glasses on, she was ever so pretty. And I thought that if Delilah got glasses, that I would be pretty, that I would fit in, and life would be okay. I remember coming home from school one day and I told my dad, Dad, I walked into a tree. I need some glasses. And my dad took me to the eye doctor, and sure enough, Delilah needed glasses. And I want to tell you that I was overwhelmed and I was thrilled. Because now I'm going to have glasses. Now I'm going to be pretty. And life is finally going to be okay. And when I went over to that wall, they had hundreds and hundreds of glasses. But ladies, when I got home, I had those Catwoman glasses. You know them things that go like that? And you know what? That pissed me off. You know, things didn't turn out the way they were supposed to turn out again. And that's the way that I lived my life up until I came into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. Things never turn out the way that I thought that they were supposed to turn out. In junior high school, I was basically a quiet person unless you violated my rights. That's somebody that knows me. And I believed in whatever it was that I believed in. And it was around the time, I believe, when the second Kennedy had got assassinated. Martin Luther King had been assassinated, and there was a lot of commotion going on. There's a lot of stuff in the atmosphere. And we were going around the building putting posters all over the building. Now, I don't know if someone dared me to put this poster on the principal's door, but knowing me, I probably took it upon myself. And when the principal came to me and said, Delilah, did you put this poster on my door? I gladly told him yes. His name was Mr. Sampson. My name is Delilah. And you know, that meant that I was to give that man hell. For 3 years, I harassed that man on a regular basis. But what I didn't know was that that was the beginning of me living up to people's expectations of who and what I should be. I took my first drink between junior high school and high school. And I like to think that it was in the name of fun. I got one of my girlfriends to buy us some wine, and we went inside an apartment building, and we giggled and we laughed and we bust out a few windows that day, and it was no big deal. That same summer, we went to a party and I got drunk and I knocked over a glass table, but it did not break, so it was no big deal. They were taking me home and I fell down the flight of stairs, no big deal. They were walking me through the playground. I fell again, lost the keys to the door. And somebody tapped on the door and they all ran off and left me standing there. My dad answered the door and I suffered no consequences, no big deal. And I woke up in the morning sick as a dog, and I swore up and down that I would never, ever drink again. No big deal. Now I'm in high school, and I met a couple of girls that began to cut classes and hang out. And I began to bond with them. And one day, they made a decision that they wanted to go across the street from the school inside the funeral parlor to party. Now, see, I cannot imagine being inside this funeral parlor with dead bodies laying all around partying and having a good time. But what they didn't know was that Delilah is afraid of the dead. So what happened was I went back to school and I applied myself, and as a result of that, I graduated when I was 16 years old. And by the time I was 17 years old, I was away at college. And emotionally, I had no business being there. I was not prepared. I was still a little girl in the inside. But I went as a means to escape. I come from an alcoholic home, and some of you know the story. And I was truly sick and tired of being sick and tired of them. I just wanted to get away. What I can tell you about my college career is that I took some law courses, ate pizza, drank beer, and besides the practical jokes that I constantly played on people, I don't remember too much of anything else. But I came back home and I got a job and I gained a lot of material garbage. And then I allowed my family to put me on a pedestal. If you got a question, ask Delilah. If you need some money, just ask Delilah. And see, they thought that Delilah had arrived. They thought that I had it all together. But deep down inside, I was afraid. But I was not about to let them know that I was not okay with self. So I acted as if everything was okay. Anything materially that I wanted, I had. But there was something missing in the inside. There was something wrong with me. And that's when I made the decision to move to San Francisco. Now, I like to believe that's where I grew up. After being there for about 3 years, I got a phone call from my mom, and my brother under me, he had gotten shot, and it was the week of Christmas. I flew into Cleveland. He lost a lung, but he was going to be okay. I remember opening the door to the house, and I walked around, and I looked around, and I was like, oh, my God. You know, I got 3 brothers, and nobody is taking care of Mom. And I made a decision right then and there that I was going to come back home, and I was going to take care of Mom. I went back to San Francisco a day or so before Christmas, and between Christmas and New Year's, a numerous of events happened. And on New Year's Day, I'm at the U-Haul dealer, and I'm going to get one of those little trailers that you put onto the back of your car. I signed the papers, I'm in the car, and I'm ready to go. And the man said, ma'am, have you ever drove a car with a trailer on the back of it before? And I told him no. He said, well, ma'am, I need to show you about the steering. Because when you want to go in reverse, there's a certain way you got to steer that steering wheel to get that trailer to go wherever it is that you wanted to go. And I remember looking at me and dead square in his eyes saying, look, I do not need to know how to go in reverse because I am going straight ahead. And I pulled off. And when I pulled off, there was an expression on the man's face like there's something truly wrong with her. And you know what it was. See, it had been instilled in me at an early age that I was a belle and I can do anything and I don't need your help. See, when I made the honor rolls and I made the merit rolls, I was a belle. Those things were expected of me. When I got all those good jobs making that good money, I was a belle. Those things were expected of me. When I graduated at 16 years old and 17 years old, I'm away at college, I'm a belle. Those things were expected of me. And as a result of that, I live my life like I'm a belle and I can do anything. And I don't need your help. And that is the way that I was when I came into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. So you can imagine the problem I had when I got here. They told me to get a sponsor. No, I ain't getting no sponsor because I ain't telling nobody none of my business. I just told him, just give me the book and I can do this for myself. I went back home and I called the Weather Bureau and I asked them what is the best route to go from San Francisco to Cleveland in the wintertime. And at that time, I had an excellent memory. Now the plan was that I began driving at 5 o'clock in the morning and I would not stop until 12 o'clock midnight. Nobody told me that if I drove for 18 hours that I would be home in 2 days or 3 days. Nobody told me that. I just made a decision that is what I was going to do. And any time that I said that I was going to do anything, I did it, no matter what the cost. At the end of the first day, I was on the borderline of Texas, and I knew that I was in trouble. I knew that I was in trouble because Texas is a big state. But when I checked into that hotel room, put the kids in the tub, cut the news on and called Mom, I acted as if everything was okay. I was not about to let her know that I was afraid, not me. Now each night I called my mother, and my mother would mark on her map where I was. Because I didn't have a map. I didn't need a map. All I needed was those 3 different routes, and the rest I just wing it as I go. And each night when I called my mother, she would mark on her map where I was. So in case something happened to the fool on the way home, they have a general idea where they could find me. You know, it didn't matter when I was driving down the freeway, my eyelids got to be a little bit heavy. It was not 12 o'clock midnight. I continued to drive. It did not matter when I found myself nodding at the steering wheel, roll the window down, turn the music up louder, and I would continue to drive. It did not matter when I found myself going off the shoulder of the freeway. I pulled over. I got out and I did some jumping jacks and I scratched for a while. And that is the way that I drove home in its entirety. And the only reason that I know of is because I said that I would not stop until 12 o'clock midnight. Now I'm driving through Little Rock, Arkansas. And it begins to snow in Little Rock, Arkansas. They have no provision for snow. I began to slow down because fear has set in. I got cars and trucks behind me, and they're beeping their horn, and they're going around me, and I'm looking at them saying, that's okay. I will see you later on down the freeway. Sure enough, I saw those same cars and those same trucks. They were pulled over, and they were turned over, and they were jackknifed. And I looked at them and said, see, I told you. Does not apply to me. And I continued to drive. And the more I continued to drive, I noticed that I no longer saw any cars or any trucks on the freeway. And my sick mind said, this is great. I got the whole freeway all to myself. I was driving down the freeway and I seen this big old green sign and it said last exit for 65 miles. And the closer I began to get to that exit, this voice began to gnaw at me and say, Delilah, you should really get off the freeway. But it was not 12 o'clock midnight, so I continued to drive. And the closer I began to get to that exit, this voice just got louder and louder and it kept saying, Delilah, you should really get off the freeway. But finally approaching the exit on the freeway, this voice in the inside said, Delilah, get off the freeway. And when I got off the freeway, checked into the hotel, put the kids in the jacuzzi, cut the news on and called Mom. The news came on, it said Little Rock, Arkansas. The freeway has been closed down. We've called the National Guard to bring the people coffee and blankets. And my sick mind said I made that slick move just in time. That if it wasn't for my keen insight, that I'd have been out there like the rest of those fools. And the sad part about it is that any time that I thought that I got out of any kind of jackpot or any kind of jam, I always patted myself on the back. I always took the credit. If it was something negative, it was the world fault. It was the system fault. Or it was God picking on me. If it was positive, I did it. If it was negative, it was always people, places, and things. I get home one day in January. And by February, I got 2 full-time jobs, working 7 days a week, 16 hours a day, because I got to catch up. I have to get all the material garbage that I left behind. I have to get the house looking the way that I think that it should be looking. And this is when my drinking picks up again. One of my old girlfriends took me to the bar. And I would go inside the bar and I was order champagne, pink, silver, and gold. And they would look at me and they would shake their head and be like, what a waste of good money. This same girlfriend of mine's both on his bowling leagues. I joined the bowling league. And I was going to that bar and I was ordering my champagne, pink, silver, and gold. But as time progressed, I went in that bar one day and I ordered some VSQ brandy. And as time progressed, I'm bringing my brandy in a Pepsi bottle. And as time progressed, I'm bringing a liter of brandy in my bowling bag because now I need more. And what simply happened was the alcoholism. It snuck up on me and it kicked my butt and I could not see it coming. There was many days that I'd be at the bowling alley bowling, I would come to in the bathroom puking. There was many days that I'd be at the bowling alley bowling, I could come to on your street, my street, anybody's street. There was many days that I'd be at the bowling alley bowling, I would come to crawling up my stairs, trying to make it to my bed, trying to figure out what day of the week is it, what should I be going to work, what time is it, what job should I be going to, where's my car? Got my window to see if my car was anywhere in the vicinity. And if it wasn't, I had to go back outside to see if my car was anywhere, because I was a blackout drinker. I didn't know that I was in trouble. I didn't know there was something wrong with me. I thought that meant we had a darn good time. This same girlfriend, and I don't keep mentioning her, trying to blame her for my disease, because today I know that it was my decision and it was my choice to drink. But they tell us that people will influence us. And so in these rooms, we must change people, places, and things. This same girlfriend took me to a car party. And the deal with this car party is whoever loses, that's too bad a package. And as beginner's luck would have it, I didn't lose. And it took on a whole nother addiction for me. And it sort of speedballed me into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. Now today I can share with you that I'm grateful because it got me here while I was still young. I wasn't able to stay there in the beginning. My mother said to me one day, I hope it don't take you as long as it took your father. My father was 50 years old when he surrendered to the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. I was only 28 years old. I knew I was not going to make it. I knew I wasn't going to make it. But my dad sums it up real well when he said that alcoholism led him down a blazing trail that opened the doors for him to do anything and to put anything into his system. And when he said that to me, the light bulb finally came on and I could finally identify Because in the end, I didn't ask you what your brand name was. I didn't ask you what proof it was. I didn't ask you was there going to be any kind of side effects? Was there going to be any kind of hazards? Was I going to hallucinate or none of that stuff? If you have something in your hand and you say, here, Delilah, take this because it's going to get you high, then you give it to me. You give it to me because that means I don't have to deal and I don't have to feel and I might get the oblivion I've been searching for my entire life. If it's going to get me high, then you give it to me and I don't give it down what it is. Give it to me because it's going to take me out of me. Just give it to me. My first introduction to Alcoholics Anonymous was a lady by the name of Miss Viola Baldwin. And I'm sure that Viola took one look at me and realized just how sick I was. Now, I could have went anywhere in this world, but I wanted to go for treatment. But Viola tricked me into Harbor Light Detox. Somebody over there been there. Woo. Harbor Light is a place for indigent people, for people who cannot afford treatment. And when I walked in Harbor Light, I walked in there with my luggage in my hand. And after being there for a couple of days, they said, Delilah, why are you here? And with all sincerity, I told them I'm on the verge of a nervous breakdown. My job sent me here. Absolutely nothing to do with alcoholism. Absolutely nothing. The director of Harbor Light came in there and talked to us about our willpower versus the disease. And he told us that our willpower was no match for the disease of alcoholism. And I said to myself, he don't know who he's talking to. He don't know the things that I have done. He don't know me. Does not apply to me. He told us upon leaving Harbor Light that if we went into a bar, eventually we would drink again. The day that I was discharged from Harbor Light, I went directly to the bar, put a quarter in the jukebox and ordered Coca-Cola and acted as if I was having a good time. I don't know how long I was able to get away with it. But I walked in that bar one day and the barmaid said, Coca-Cola, right? Ooh. My face frowned up. I said, look, you give me a glass of VSQ brandy with beer on the side, and I was off and running. And the sad part about it was that I hadn't planned to say it that day. It just came out. But today I know I was setting myself up. People, places, and things. Now I'm at Orca House. And Orca House is a 30 to 90-day facility. And I already know I'm only going to stay for 30 days because I ain't that bad. At that time, they had ladies that would cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I volunteered to be the cook. I cooked breakfast, and I cooked lunch, and I cooked dinner. My counselor went to the director and said, Delilah does not need to be in the kitchen. She is not working on herself. But when they came to me, you know what I told them? I could handle this. Everything is okay. They gave us a sheet for us to write down the consequences that we've had as a result of our alcoholism. And the other ladies, they writing, and I'm reading. And they all stop and they look at me. It's like, Delilah, you don't have any consequences? I was like, no. They're like, girl, you ain't got no problem. You don't need to be in here. You know what? I ain't think so anyway. And I patted myself on the back. And the sad part about it was that I hadn't suffered no consequences. I hadn't lost a doggone thing, and I hadn't felt no pain. I was simply there out of fear. I saw what the disease of alcoholism was doing to family, to friends, and to peers. And I thought that if I continued, I might maybe have a problem. Maybe. Now today I know that fear may get you to these rooms, and fear may buy you some time, but fear will not keep you sober. You're going to have to do something eventually if you want to stay here. Now I'm in Turning Point in Breckfield, where they believe that alcoholism is a mental illness. A position came available for a head cook, and you know who took it. When I should have been in those classes, I was in the kitchen baking cookie, cakes, and pies, and, I'm planning a lunch, and I'm having a real good time. And my counselor once again goes to the director and says, Delilah does not need to be in the kitchen. She's using it as a means to escape. And I honestly did not know that. All that I knew was when I was in that kitchen cooking, it made me feel good. It made me feel good because I didn't have to look at me. I didn't have to think about me. And I didn't have to work on me because it took me out of me. Now I'm over my dad's house in Painesville, detoxing off of Cairo syrup and orange juice. And they sent me over to Stella Mira's detox. And I stayed at Stella Mira's detox for 90 days. That's what kind of shape I was in. I remember my dad came to see me, and the first thing that he said to me was, baby, please don't get in the kitchen. Please don't get in the kitchen. And you know what? I didn't. At Stella Mira's is where the miracle began to happen for me. It's where I was able to sit down and get as honest with myself as I possibly could at that time. I did my autobiography. I began to work the steps. I went to all the meetings. I got me a sponsor. I began to read my big book. And I am moving like greased lightning. I want 10 years of sobriety on one day, and can't nobody stop me. Meanwhile, my sponsor is trying to slow me down, but I got to get it this time. I got to get it. At the end of my 90 days, they told me, Delilah, it is time for you to go. And that was a first, because I always told them what I was going to do. I was in my room, sitting on my bed, reading the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And all that I knew was that I had to finish the story. And when I finished the story, I was in a corner on the floor crying, because by now I am convinced that alcohol is cunning, it is baffling, and it is powerful. No longer do you have to tell me. No longer do you have to try to convince me. I finally know it for myself. I finally know it for myself because there were so many days that I said, I'm going to be a good little girl this week. I'm not going to drink anything. There were so many days that I said, I'm going to lay off that hard stuff. I'm going to go back to my champagne, the pink, silver, and gold. There were so many days that I said that I was going to go to the store and I was going to be right back. There were so many days that I said I'm going to spend $20. That's it, just $20. There were so many days that I had the bill money in this pocket and the play money in this pocket, and I swore up and down I was not going to touch the bill money. There were so many days I remember being at work in the bathroom on my knees praying, God, please, let me get on with the paycheck. God, let me get on with the paycheck. There were so many days that my telephone rung. I said, you tell him I'm not home. Tell him anything. There were so many days people tapped on my door. I said, tell him I'm dead. There were so many days I remember being on my knees crying from my gut that I surrendered, that I waved the white flag, that I wasn't going to put no poison in my body again till the day that I die. And you let it be 2 weeks, 2 months later, whatever, I'm sitting there wondering what happened. What happened when I said I was going to be a good little girl this week? What happened when I said that I was going to go to the store and I was going to be right back? What happened when I said I was finally going to make it home with the paycheck? Why did I pick up again? After all that pain, after all that suffering, after all that humiliation, why? That's when I found out that I was powerless over alcohol and my life was unmanageable. That's when I found out that I couldn't beat this thing on my own no kind of way. That's when I found out that I had lost the power of choice and I was out of control and I could not control anything that was already out of control. In my room, on my knees, I learned my favorite prayer. It was real simple. God, no matter what happens, just don't let me give up. Because as long as I don't give up, I know I got a chance. I don't know what's going to happen when I leave this place, but just don't let me give up. That is my favorite prayer, more importantly, because I prayed that prayer for 1 whole year, every single day here in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. Because for 1 whole year, here in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, I am one of those people that went to meetings and I drank, and I went to meetings and I drank, and I went to meetings and I drank. And today I can thank God that the only requirement for membership is a desire. I don't have to be sober in order to come into these rooms. I come into these rooms to learn how to live sober one day at a time. And I was taught early on in this program, you watch well your beginnings. So if somebody's sitting next to me, reaping of alcohol or whatever, I bet not move my feet, and I bet not toot my nose because they have a right to be here. If somebody walk in these rooms and they're staggering, I bet not point my finger, and I bet not utter one unkind word. They have a right to be here. The only requirement for membership is a desire, and that's it. So, honey, I got sick and tired, being sick and tired. And I just thought I couldn't get this thing. And I made a decision to commit suicide. And it was not a cry for help. And it was not to get attention. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I wanted to go home. I took a whole bottle of pills. And for the first time in my life, I knew peace. For the first time in my life, I knew peace. When my head touched my pillow, I knew peace. And I was okay with going home. And what happened was God allowed me to wake up. And it dawned on me, I woke up. And as I sat there raising stand with God, it dawned on me, Delilah, He ain't even gonna let you die. He ain't even gonna let you die because you would be dead already. And I had to make a decision. It was real simple. Either I can continue to live in that hell that I had been living in, or I could muster up whatever little faith and whatever little strength I had left and fight one more time for this thing called sobriety. I went to Grace Hospital detox for 5 days. I went to a 3/4-way house, something they suggested God knows how many years ago. And that's where I became willing to go to any length sober. They took the car. And thank God they took the car because the car knew the way. I would have all the good intentions of going to the right place, doing the right thing, and before I knew it, I would be somewhere that I did not mentally or physically remember driving. You know, the car knew the way. But I would get up at 4:30 in the morning, I would catch 3 buses to get to work, 3 buses to get back home, catch a bus to a meeting, catch a bus back home, because I am still not willing to ask for help. And one day at a bus stop, a guy pulled over and he said, "Oh, get in the car." He said, "Why don't you ever ask for help?" And for the first time in my life, I opened up my mouth and I shared with someone that I was not okay with self. And I told him about the cravings that I was having. And he said, Delilah, think it through. Think about that first drink or whatever. Think about it as the day progressed, how it was going to be. Think about all the jackpots and all the jams that you've been into. Think about all the pain that you have caused your loved ones, and more importantly, think about the pain that you have caused yourself. He said, you think it through from the beginning to the bitter end. And the bitter end is no matter how little or how much we start off with, the end result is always the same. You never have enough. He said, you think it through from the beginning to the end. That's God to help you, not to pick up. From that day to this day, over 10 years later, I have not had a craving since. If I think I'm thinking about a drink, I think it through. I nipped it in the bud. I found out that the thought comes before the craving. I began with the 4 absolutes of Alcoholics Anonymous: honesty, unselfishness, purity, and love, and that is the name of my home group in Cleveland, Ohio. And for me, it started one day when I was driving down the street and I seen this big, tall billboard, and it had a nice cold glass of beer, and it was just bubbly all over. And I don't know how I knew the beer was cold, but the beer was cold. And I said to myself, that beer sure look good. And then I said, I wasn't thinking the beer looked good. And I looked over, and there was absolutely no one in the car but me. And I was like, dang, Delilah, you're lying to yourself. Yes, you were thinking that the beer looks good, but drinking is not an option for you today. You have abused your right to drink. And what I learned from that was, to thy own self be true. If I cannot be honest with me, I most certainly cannot be honest with you. And if I cannot be honest with you, you most certainly cannot help me. To thy own self be true. I began spreading my wings in Alcoholics Anonymous. And for me, that started with the meeting schedule book and our bus system. And what I did then, and still attempt to do today, is to go to 1 new meeting a week. Doesn't matter where it's at. Doesn't matter who's going to be there. If it's a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, I am welcome and I go. In the Cleveland area, there are nearly 1,000 meetings in our meeting schedule book. And before I leave planet Earth, I plan on going to each and every one of those meetings. And then if it's God's will for me to come back as a man alcoholic, I'll make the man's meetings. But I attempt to go to 1 new meeting a week. You know, my sponsor realized that I had a problem with God. I felt like God had dealt me a raw deck of cards. Because here was a good little girl that was raised in the church, sang in the choir, I taught Sunday school and BTU. If this kind of garbage can happen to me, I want absolutely nothing to do with them. And she said, Delilah, you pray to the God of Alcoholics Anonymous. You ask the God of AA, whoever keeps them people sober, ask him to keep you sober too. And that is the higher power, the God consciousness that I began with. And you know what? It'll work for me. It'll work for you. It worked for me because I was going to meetings every single day. I was shaking people's hands. I was looking them dead square in their eyes. And I could see that their eyes was clear and their face was clear. And some people had this glowy thing about them. And when I sat on the front row and I made eye contact with the messenger and I focused on the message and not the messenger, then I could feel the power in the rooms. I could feel the power. And I knew that Alcoholics Anonymous is a higher power saving millions of lives all over the world. It is not the higher power, but it is a higher power. And you know what? If it worked for me, it'll work for you. If you're struggling with a God consciousness and a higher power, I was taught early on that, Delilah, if you're having a problem with God, you will have a harder time without Him. somewhere in the book of Alcoholics Anonymous, it tells us there may come a time when you will have no defense against that first drink. And the only one who's going to be able to save you is a God of your understanding. And if you do not know Him, if you do not have a personal relationship with Him, if you do not know Him for yourself, when the stuff hits the fan, what are you going to do? You're going to do what you always did. You're going to drink again. And that's why it is vitally important for us to find a higher power, so we don't ever have to drink again one day at a time. Today I can say that I'm relatively happy, that I have some joy in my life. And most importantly, I'm free. No longer does alcohol and drugs dictate my behavior. And don't tell me who I have to associate with. I don't get up in the morning trying to figure out how I'm going to get that next drink. I don't get up in the morning with all that garbage in my mind. When I get up in the morning today, I get up. I know what day of the week it is. I know what job I'm going to, only one, because 2 jobs is for 2 people. As a young girl growing up, I heard Martin Luther King talking about going to the mountaintop and talked about being free, freedom. And I had no clue what he meant. But when the program of Alcoholics Anonymous and a God of my understanding took that compulsion away from me to use, that today when I say free at last, thank God Almighty I'm free at last, I finally know what it means. I finally know it for myself. I'm free today. Free. I'm going to share with you a couple of experiences I've had with God, and I'm going to shut up. God is an awesome God. An awesome God. This is an awesome conference. Awesome. I've been here for over a week. I've been to Maui. I've been to Honolulu, and the people have just been so wonderful. I have never seen people, and I love to travel, and I travel a lot, that have been so overwhelmingly nice. Just go out their way to be nice. I have never been to a conference where people come so early. It started yesterday, and they was here 2 weeks ago. Brought their husbands and daughters and cousins and all that kind of stuff. I have never seen such. I have never seen such at a conference. I have never seen such. Never. The women in Hawaii know how to put on the conference, y'all, okay? Then they gave us some of their culture, taught us a history lesson. I feel enriched. I don't know about y'all, but I feel enriched after today. Got some hula lessons going on and things. I even took surfing lessons. Big kahuna. Ooh-wee. Yes, I took some surfing lessons. Could y'all believe that? Got the bruises to show it, too. Awesome God. Let's talk about God a little bit, because you talk about God, you got to talk about God, because without God, we wouldn't be here. Nobody. This building wouldn't even be here. Let's see. Let's talk about the little one. I do this. 2 teenage boys. This is what they was when I came here. Now they up there somewhere. But both of my sons, and the last one just left Wednesday while I was here, is now in the military. And I'm not really happy about it, but, you know, I'm accepting it one day at a time, if you will. But my youngest son was home from college, and I was getting dressed for work, and I heard him saying, my car, my car. And when I went outside, he was standing at the place where his car used to be. And I said, honey, come on back in the house, because they're not going to bring the car back. Come on back in the house. I went to work, and I was telling my supervisor about how they stole my son's car, and he said, Delilah, take the company van and go look for your son's car. And he asked some guys on the job, you know, where the chop shops were in the area. And I know some of you girls know about chop shops. Yeah, I know y'all know. But I began driving around the neighborhood, and I said, I should have knew something was wrong when he gave me the van, because my supervisor is not really a good-hearted person, you know what I mean? But I took the company van, and I'm driving around the neighborhood, and I began to talk to God. I said, you know, God, I just got finished praying and asking you for a financial blessing. I said, I really cannot stand this hardship at this time. I said, but they said if you ask, it shall be given. So I'm asking, please, let me find this child's car with minimum damage. I serve an awesome God. It wasn't 2 minutes after I prayed that prayer that I went down the street that I really ever go down, and lo and behold, there was that child's car. Now, as big as the city of Cleveland is, I know that I did not find his car. God found his car because I asked and because I believed. Several years ago, I was laid off for the first time in my life. And I was talking to one of the girls that I sponsor, and people, it pays to sponsor. It pays to sponsor in more ways than one. And if you can, please sponsor. Please sponsor. We need good sponsors. That sponsors are the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and practice the 12 traditions and the steps. Every time I get a new girl, we need to get in this book. We need to address the steps. They need to go to meetings on a daily basis, and they need to call me on a regular basis. And when they call me with their life crisis, whatever their life crisis is for that day or that week, I laugh. I hang up that phone, I laugh. And I don't laugh at them. I laugh at me. Because, see, that was me, brand spanking new in Alcoholics Anonymous. And if I forget what it's like to be new, I just might drink again. People would pay to sponsor. But I was talking to one of the ladies that I sponsor, and she said, Delilah, I can get you a job where I work at. Now you know why Tony picked you. I can get you a job as a waitress. I said, honey, I don't do no waitress. Who's a waitress? I slammed the telephone. I don't do no waitress. Who she thinks she's talking to? God said, who you think you are? Who you think you are? Talking about you don't do waitress. So I picked the phone up, agreed to go on the interview, did not pray before I went because I did not want the job. Hired me right there on the spot. Ooh, Lordy. And about 2 or 3 days later, I got the job that I have today. And that just goes to show me, when I put that false pride and that ego out the way, then God can work for me and he can use me. You know, lady, I'm telling y'all, it pays to sponsor. One of my girls typed up my resume. One of my girls did my thank you letter. They came over and picked out my suit, did my everything. It pays to sponsor, ladies. It pays to sponsor. Tell y'all. A mess. Let's see, one more. Several years ago, and I'm real bad with time, I was having a biopsy done for cancer. And the doctor said, you sure are kind of calm for a person that's having this procedure done. And, you know, I was kind of speechless, and for people that know me, that's a miracle in itself. And I went home and I got in the shower and I began to cry. And I said, God, I ain't ready to die yet. I have 2 teenage boys and who haven't gotten married. I don't have any grandkids. There are so many things that I want to do that I have not done. And I said, more importantly, I haven't been on my round the world cruise. I'm going one day. I am going on a round the world cruise one day. And I take donations. But I was able to muster up enough strength and enough faith to say, but if it's thy will, then thy will be done. But if I must leave here, please, let me leave with my head held up high. Let me leave with some dignity and with some grace. And when I went back to the doctor, he was flipping through my chart and he said, I don't understand. And he pulled those little bifocals down and he kept saying, I don't understand. And I walked out of his office and I said, I understand. Because I serve a mighty, mighty, mighty God that keeps on blessing me continuously over and over and over and over again. And that's why I suit up and I show up in spite of myself. You know, I attempt to do the things that I'm supposed to do 24/7. I attempt to live this way of life. I attempt to live a spiritual way of life because the program of Alcoholics Anonymous is a spiritual way of life. That does not mean I'm a Miss Goody Two-Shoes. I do not have a halo over my head, and sometimes I take 2 steps backward before I can make a half a step forward by attempt to live this way of life. I do whatever God puts in front of me to do. Today, I still go to a lot of meetings. I still sponsor a lot of ladies. I tell absolutely no one no. I can't have too many ladies. I don't know what too many is. If God sent them to me, it's for my growth, and I'll work with them. I still participate in our women's luncheon in Cleveland. I've done all the service work that I want to do. Where my sponsor ain't here. I did all the service work I want to do. Woo. My sponsor told me, you tell folks what you do in Alcoholics Anonymous so they can know what's work to be done here. But I shouldn't say that either because somebody else, I think it was Martina, somebody made me go and now I'm on the advisory board and that's most certainly service work. But you know what? That's for my growth. You know, I'm going to learn from that. But I tell you, being a GSR and stuff, and people get up and they break the traditions, and you know, I'm going to go in a meeting and talk to them about breaking the traditions. They start crying, I start crying. I don't want to do it no more. God has just blessed me. He has just truly blessed me. I can't complain about a thing. My life is enriched, you know. I'm looking for a new job. I just took another test, and in October I got my boiler operator's license, and I'm working on my engineering license, and I need a Monday through Friday job with weekends off so I can travel like I used to, you know. God's been good. He's been real good. He's been real good. On Christmas, I got engaged, and my fiance is in recovery. Yeah. And that's a miracle in itself. God got somebody, well, that can handle me because I'm a mess. You know, but we really complement each other. You know, he slows me down. He helps me to, he brings out the softer side in me, if you will, because I can be really strong-willed real aggressive, self-will run wild, but he slows me down. It's real good. It's real good. What else I want to say? I'm going to share with you my poem, and then I'm going to shut up. I want to thank you again. I've had a wonderful time. The only thing I have left to do is go parasailing now. People, study our books. Study our books. You want to be happy, you want to be joyous, study our books. You want to be happy, you want to be joyous, incorporate the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous into your life over and over and over and over again. Found out it wasn't a one-shot deal. It ain't a one-shot deal. I don't know how many times I've read this book, but each time I read it, they got some new stuff in here. It's the same book, but it's some new stuff in here. I just keep reading it over and over and over again. But it's our textbook, and it helps me to get better. And in here, I find me. On each and every one of these pages, I can identify. I want to talk about Jerry Black. I got to do that. Jerry Black was a young girl, just like me and you, walking around the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. And Jerry had diabetes, and they had to remove one of Jerry's arms. And when I went back to the nursing home to see her again, Jerry had no arms. And the next time I seen Jerry, she was at our women's luncheon in a wheelchair with no arms, no legs, and her sponsor had to feed her. And out of all that time that I was going to see Jerry Black, not once did Jerry Black complain, not once. So when I think I want to think about complaining, I think about Jerry Black, and I tell myself, I shall not complain. No matter what happens in my life today, that's my motto. I shall not complain. I shall not complain. An AA member's dream. I dreamed one night I passed away, and I left this world behind. I started down that lonely trail, some of my friends to find. I came to a signboard on the trail. The directions it did tell. Keep right to go to heaven. Turn left to go to hell. I hadn't been too good on earth, just a hopeless, boozing rake. And I knew there at the crossroads the path I'd have to take. So I started down that rocky path that leads to Satan's place. And I shook within, not knowing just what I have to face. Old Satan met me at the gate. What is your name, my friend? I said, I'm just old sober Sam that's come to a bad, bad end. He glanced through some yellow files. You made a mistake, I fear. You're listed as an alcoholic. We don't want you here. I said, I'm looking for my friends. And a smile stole o'er his face. If your friends are alcoholics, they're in that other place. So I went back the way I came, till the crossroads I did see, then turned right to heaven, as happy as could be. St. Peter smiled and said, come in, for you I have a birth. You're an alcoholic. You've been through hell on earth. I saw all Bob, old Pat, Bill P., and a friend called Bill. And brother, I was tickled, because I thought they're going to hell. So sisters, all take warning. Learn something from my trip. You've got a place in heaven if you try hard not to trip. If someone tempts you with a drink when you're not feeling well, tell him that you're going to heaven and he can go to hell. Thank you.